Yep.
So we need a roll call.
Yeah.
Yep.
By chance is Treese in Nathan?
Nathan's online. I can see him.
All right. I don't see anything
It's not
on.
on the TV.
Yeah, it's not on the TV here. Yeah. Okay. There we go. All right. It is 7:05. We're going to call this meeting to order. It is February 16th, 2021. The February meeting of the JCESA. We have a confirmed quorum, and we need to identify who's on the call so that we can fill out our roster. We have, let's see here, we have Earl Kogel, we have Nathan Cochran, we have Nicole Smith and Christopher Smith. We have, who else is on the call?
Christopher Riddell.
Christopher.
Blue Ridge, and you have President Long.
President Long and Christopher who?
Assistant Chief. This is Christian Riddell, attorney for Blue Ridge, appearing by phone.
Christopher Riddell, okay.
Christian Riddell, yes, sir.
Christian Riddell, okay. Yeah, okay. All right, so that was the first order of business, was the roll call. Second order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Bob?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The next order of business is the approval of the minutes. First is the emergency meeting that was called on January 13th. Any questions about these minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against? All right, it passes unanimously. Next is the minutes of the regular meeting, January 18th, January 19th. And are there any questions? There's included in there was a detailed report, progress report, contingency plan report. We get a motion to approve? Tricia, do I have a second?
Second.
Tony. Any discussion, further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor, please say aye. All those against? Passes unanimously. Next order of business is the progress report on Blue Ridge Mountain Volunteer Fire Company, and the person who's appointed as the liaison is the Vice Chair, Bob Foss. Bob?
Just this past week, I was able to meet with Chief Kogel, his assistant chief, and his president of their board. Again, following up with the checklist that was provided to them, are continuing to make progress. We've sat and had some discussion and in an agreement that they're going to make a few more changes to the plans for their renovations to include both a male and female locker room and showers, bathroom. They're working on that. Chief Kogel was going to pursue that at that point and move it on to get official drawings done up. Continue to work on, they're continuing to work on and update the information that we have requested. They also had the Fire Rescue Association appointed board for the Standards Committee come up, and they met with them as well. Chief Kogel and his president and his assistant chief. They provided them some information as well, and that committee had done an inspection as well. Again, thus far, they seem to be coming along and progressing extremely well. I reached out to Jeff P. I can't say his last name, so I don't want to murder it. But I talked to him out at the dispatch center. He has, in fact, talked with Chief Kogel and working on some dispatch procedures for closest route, if I recall correctly from what Jeff said, for their dispatch. And I'm also been made aware that the state fire marshal has made some requests. I had a phone call into the state fire marshal today to follow up with him on that, and I have not gotten a report back from him because unfortunately I called him after business hours. That's about all I've got right now. And you guys got the email of all this stuff, the information, sorry, that I said sent that to you guys that I have obtained from that last meeting with Company 5.
Okay, so I have a question regarding the status update and progress report. And there's a checklist, and what I recall here, and it's from this an email that had been sent out, that there were 11 items on the checklist. What are the items on this checklist that are still outstanding, and what's the status of those?
So thus far, the only outstanding item from the list that I am currently seeing is going to be the addition to the station.
Okay.
And the items obviously specified for that.
Okay. And you had mentioned that there's going to be a state fire marshal involvement in this matter. And what's the status of that?
Just again, I unfortunately wasn't able to call him before the end of business hours, and I'll make an attempt to call him again tomorrow if I can. I'm working at the firehouse tomorrow on shift, so
okay.
If I don't call him tomorrow, then I'll definitely call him Thursday.
All right. So are there any questions from anybody regarding this progress report? Okay. So then we move on to the next order of business, and that would be the treasurer's report. And that would be Craig Simpson, and Director Alan Kaiser.
This is the financial summary for FY '21 through January of this year. The Jefferson County Commission General Fund, $2,622,847, and the ambulance fee, $936,973. That total was $3,559,820. You'll notice down the line, you have tuberculosis foundation care, sales of assets and other. That comes to a total of $3,686,729. In the general fund, the balance as of January 31st, 2021, $763,601 in general, payroll $167,116, ambulance fee $574,302, and the mortgage $145,179. The annual mortgage of $81,000 is not included in the expenses as it is covered under the impact fee budget. Noticing what our year to date spending by category, if you look at the chart on the front, the full-time wages are the large part of this category, then fringe, other expenses, and payroll tax, workers' comp, overtime, and part-time wages. You'll see at the bottom with the running tally, the year-to-date end spend out to the full allocation, the 3.5 million out to the end, and where we're at now, we're right at around 58% of the fiscal year is complete, and we're right in that neighborhood of 57 to 58% till we get to the end of the year in our spending. The second part is the labor wheel, which is very important to the operations section of the department, of the agency. Regular overtime is at 3%. That's a little higher than we normally like it, but 3 and below is where we like to be, below that 3% mark. Holiday accumulated up to 6% of it. What ran the numbers up as far as percentage was the holiday overtime. That was at 5%. You'll look over here at the AL and PD leave. That was at 4%, and that's your administrative for COVID leave for our folks that were actually out with an exposure to COVID-19. So that put them off the floor, so you have to backfill. And the regular is at 76% for folks on the floor working. And that's our report for this month, sir.
Any questions about the treasurer's report? Have a motion to approve? Tricia, any second?
Second.
Bob Foss. Any further discussion or questions? All those, go ahead.
I actually have a question going back to Blue Ridge. I'm not sure if you all are done with this topic or not, but I'm trying to. I'd like to know if the shift service is back to 24 hours yet, and if not, why not?
Well, that would have been for the previous report, which was the progress report. What we'll do is we will move that to unfinished business. But in the meantime, I have a motion on the floor, and any questions or concerns about the current motion on the floor? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Passes unanimously. The next order of business would be the chairman's report. We have 2 new board members now. We have a full board of 7 members. There are 2 citizen board members, one of whom is present today and one of whom is not, who had a family issue that came up. So Steve Harris isn't here. We welcome him, and we'll do so again when he's able to attend a subsequent meeting. But Joshua Stillwell, welcome to the board.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, and that concludes the chairman's report. We do not have an association report today because the rep from the association, the JCFRA, Chief Ross Morgan, is on a call. He's fighting a fire at the moment. So that report will be deferred until the next meeting in March, which brings us to the director's report. Director Kaiser.
Yeah, I only have a few things. The FY 22 budget presentation to the county commission was completed by myself and Captain Burner on February 9th via Zoom with the commissioners. Today, the county commission worked on the budget workshop, the work session itself, and the budget should be finalized around March. So at that point, the budget part on the ESA is complete. Charlestown Women Order of the Moose donated a check for $200. And that will be delivered soon to us, or we may have it already. I believe we do have it already. We do have it.
Yes.
Okay, and that's, we already have it. It's already been placed in the bank. And then I have a report on the workers' comp, and that'll be from Captain Burner.
Hi, guys. I asked Chief Kaiser if I could bring this up and mention it to you because I'm excited when we have some good news. It's always a good thing. Our workers' comp through WP Core, which is a risk pool with a cooperation of counties, county agencies, I think some municipalities and whatnot. It's not traditional insurance per se, but it's a risk pool, and our rates for workers' comp are determined by the class of work that your workforce is doing, several other factors, and one is very important, which is called a risk mod. It's a number that they use to determine where you stand as far as how costly you are compared to other people in the pool. When I recall around 2015, our risk mod was above 1. I don't remember exactly where, but I know it was above 1. And anything above 1 means you generally cost more than others. So your rates are going to be higher. Those rates have come down. We were thrilled last year that our risk mod was at 0.83. And this year we just got a notice from them that our preliminary risk mod for next year is going to be 0.80. It's fabulous, and what that means is that we're not costing workers' comp as much as average. In fact, we're well below average at 0.80. We credit this to several things, some policy and program changes that were made a few years back, and also the great work that our safety officer and deputy safety officer do by being just relentless in making sure that we're finding and fixing everything possible, make sure we're keeping our people safe and not repeating things that could get us hurt or put people off the floor. So kudos to our safety folks, Lieutenant Currenson, Lieutenant Considine, and Technician Ryan, and for all of our folks for having a part. Safety is everyone's job, and I think they're doing it well. And the proof is now in the numbers and in the bottom line where we can actually feel it. So I'm really proud of my group for getting us there.
Well, that's great. It's always good to have good news.
That's our report, sir.
Great. So that concludes the director's report, and the next order of business is board member requests. And you've given the update. Is there anything more that, all right, so then we'll proceed to the request by Tricia Jackson, who is the liaison from the county commission.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jackson, about, go ahead.
So I know the Board of Education does this. The commission has resumed in-person meetings for the commissioners and some staff. I know the Board of Education allows a limited quantity of the public to pre-register if they want to participate in the meeting in person. I've had a couple people reach out and request to be able to participate. They just said open the meeting back up. I think we have to do it with precaution, but I wanted to mention it and see if you were interested in discussing or what your feelings and thoughts are on it.
Is there any discussion about opening up these meetings on a limited basis to the public again in person?
The only discussion I have is the size of the room, which has been approved by the health department, and Dr. Treese was 15 total allowed in here at one time.
Okay.
That's the max for the square footage.
All right, so we'll note that. So then, any further discussion on this issue? All right, so then in putting it in the form of a motion, the motion would be to allow the public to attend ESA meetings in person going forward, providing they pre-register and that it doesn't result in more than 15 people occupying the meeting room at any one given time. Anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion as noted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against? All right, that passes unanimously, which brings us to unfinished business, and we have moved the request by Counselor Riddell, Esquire, regarding the status of Company 5 with regard to employees. So, Mr. Riddell, would you like to restate your question? Okay, we can't proceed unless he restates the question.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now? Is that better?
Yes, yes.
All right. Sorry, I had myself on mute. I just wanted to inquire as to whether 24-hour service has been restored for Blue Ridge, and if not, when we can expect it. It seems like they have progressed very well through the checklist of issues. There's only one outstanding at this point, and it doesn't sound like there's any indication that that's not going to be complied with as well. So we're obviously anxious to get that service back and running, and would like some kind of an update on that.
Okay. Any discussion on that from the board?
The only outstanding item other than the renovations is that of the state fire marshal. And again, I hope to have an answer from the state fire marshal tomorrow on the status of his requests. And once we get that information back from the state fire marshal, we can move to discuss that.
Okay.
Is that to say that it's not guaranteed that service will be restored, even if the fire marshal clears this item as well? That there still might be some impediment?
Well, there are two issues here. One is that we have the fire marshal. The other is the facility to be able to allow the employees, the bunking facility is what we call it.
We're posted.
So, I'm sorry?
No, you're right. You're correct.
Yeah, the bunking facility, which isn't, just isn't available right now. So that's one of the key stumbling blocks.
And that bunking facility, you're referring to the having a male and a female bunking facility. Do I have that right?
No, the emergency services building that is located next to Blue Ridge Elementary School has some deficiencies associated with that. One being the small tank that unfortunately, the gray water tank, to be exact, that unfortunately leaks over a period of time. In the past, when we had one employee only in that facility, that tended not to be an issue. But now we're continuing to run into a septic overflow, which is problematic.
Okay, so.
Is it overflowing right now?
That answer.
Is that a recent problem, I guess, in other words?
Is it currently overflowing? I don't know. I have not been to the facility to find that out.
Do we know?
All right.
I guess my question is, it seems like if good faith efforts are being made to get these things fixed, why is there and progress is clearly being made? Why should service be interrupted in the interim?
Well, the service actually has been restored on a limited basis based on the facility with regard to the bunking facility, and so it's not that the service hasn't been restored. It has been partially restored to the maximum that the board felt comfortable with. So But I would suggest that we defer this question until the next meeting, because in the interim, the state will have made its determination, and then we should take it from there. And if anybody wants to make that motion,
I'll make the motion that we defer to the next regular scheduled ESA meeting.
do I get a second? Do I get a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. So now, is there any further discussion on the issue?
Sir, this is Assistant Chief Bott. In regards to the public safety, can you hear me?
Sort of.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's the phone here at the fire station.
Okay, just speak a little more softly. You're overmodulating your microphone.
In regards to the public safety building, over the tanks there will accommodate 2 people, and it gets pumped every 3 to 4 weeks. So that would accommodate 24-hour staffing, correct?
I didn't hear exactly what you
What did
said.
He says they're pumped every 2 to
Weeks?
Yeah.
Every 5 to 8 days.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's better. I'm sorry, the speaker thing was going wrong. We have the issue with the tank. It's larger than 250 gallons, and it's a 1,000-gallon tank. Gets pumped every 3 to 4 weeks because we have personally spoke with the gentleman that does it. So if it would accommodate 2 people and it's being pumped that often, then 24-hour staffing should be not an issue.
Yeah. Well, we first need to discuss the, we need to get the, in order, before we even consider that aspect of it, we need to get the sign off from the state fire marshal. So, but.
This is Nikki Smith.
Okay.
I had to call in because my audio is not working on my computer. As I understand, the state marshal is delayed because of COVID and the snow, and so they have communicated with us and told us that at least as to our certification and vehicles and everything, we have now until July to recertify. So I'm not sure what it is that we're talking about we need from them.
Okay, I haven't seen that documentation myself. Being that I've been sitting and meeting with them, where the state fire marshal said that, but the state fire marshal has brought up, hold on.
That's actually the case for all, I believe, for all fire companies.
That's inspection.
Yeah.
That's annual inspection.
Okay, give me 1 second. So in a letter dated January 8th, 2021 from Kenneth Tyree Jr., State Fire Marshal, it says reference complaint 2021-002. This letter is a notification that a complaint concerning Blue Ridge Mountain Volunteer Fire Department has been filed with the state of West Virginia Fire Marshal's Office. The substance of this complaint is as follows. 87-6-10.2A, failure to maintain minimal levels of performance and training, equipment, maintenance of the fire protection procedures as established by statute, by legislative rule, or written by policy promulgated pursuant with West Virginia Code 29-3-9I, lack of preventative maintenance to apparatus. Number 2, 87-6-10.2G, a practice or pattern of performance that demonstrates a substantial threat to the safety of the people and the property within the community served, which threat may also include substantial risk of harm to the safety to the fireground personnel themselves, lack of trained firefighters, apparatus upkeep, and general routine maintenance. The State Fire Marshal Office will be investigating this complaint further. You have 30 days to reply in writing to our office pertaining to the complaint as set forth in 87 CSR 6, section 9.7. Respectfully, Kenneth E. Tyree Jr., State Fire Marshal.
Okay, great. Can you tell me the date of that letter?
Yeah, January 8th, 2021.
January 8th?
January 8th.
Okay, and did y'all file that complaint?
No, we did not file that complaint.
Who did?
I have no idea.
Any further discussion?
Is that complaint the source of the checklist that was generated that Blue Ridge is now attempting to comply with?
That's a negative. That checklist was created by the JCESA board based on the findings, the fact finding that was done by the staff, the director and Captain Burner.
Is that
Bob.
totally unrelated?
We have gone through and met all of the requirements from your list and also passed the requirements and inspections from the fireman administration. And so the only remaining item to me seems to be the building of the bunk. And at the last meeting that I was at with you, we were going to restore service upon completion of that list. And so I want to know now if it's okay that we could go ahead and reinstate 24-hour service.
Well, the motion on the floor is that we are going to defer that decision until, as the board was already in the process of going through a motion of restoring that service, deferring the decision on restoring the service until the next meeting after the state fire marshal has been able to weigh in on the situation. And I might add too that facility that is in question over there is really under the purview and control of the sheriff's department, and we don't know for how long that will be available anyway. That's another matter. But the motion that we have on that the board has already discussed.
With regards to the sheriff's department, they've told us that they're have no intention of removing our ability to use that building. And we also found out that the septic tank is not actually a problem. So that's good. We're just ready to see 24-hour shifts on back to normal.
So who said the tank is not a problem? Because if there's a reason, then there's some sort of a problem. Maybe it's not the tank, maybe there's a septic system, maybe there's a leak in a pipe. But if they're physically getting gray water.
It's actually not an what were we saying? It was an 8-gallon or something like that. It's quite a bit larger and there aren't any problems with it.
I don't think anybody's ever said it was an 8-gallon tank ever. I thought the conversation may have been somewhere around 250 gallons. But if there's gray water leaking out of there or an appearance of gray water leaking out of there, again, there's not currently, because it's not, the facility's not being used as such. That is something is a problem.
Is that he actually called to make our services available to pump the tank, and we're informed that it doesn't. We do not need help, and we're not able to provide any services.
So the problem with delay
means that there's a motion on the floor, and I think that the ESA should on that motion. I think that the chair opened the board or opened the floor up for discussion from the board members, not particularly the other folks here. There do appear to be some unresolved issues that concern the chair related to the fire. And I would also just think that the director needs to have a little time to review and verify some of these issues before.
The problem with deferring this decision, though, is now we'll have to wait an entire month, basically, before we can even take this up again. And it's because we weren't able to reach the fire marshal in time because they weren't called during business hours. I mean, this is directly impacting their business and their ability to operate. And I mean, Blue Ridge Fire Company number 5, of course. And we don't even have any real reason to believe or assert that this continues to be a problem. They've complied with every single thing on the list except one thing that now appears to not maybe even be really a problem. And we're going to delay this for an entire month.
Yeah, and
so that somebody can make
I
a
would
phone call.
respectfully, Mr. Riddell is inaccurate in his assertions, because for one thing, there is no fire marshal sign off on this, is my understanding. And whatever the reason, there still isn't a sign off on it. So while, we can certainly understand that Blue Ridge wants to get back to a 24-hour basis as soon as possible, it is a valid concern that the board has regarding the fire marshal's sign off. And so I think that, that is a valid concern. There's a motion on the floor.
Well, let me ask the board this before that motion is voted on. If the board does vote to defer, would it be possible to hold a special meeting very soon, say a week or less from now, so that we can have time to make contact with the appropriate personnel and verify once and for all whether this is going to actually be an impediment? Because waiting for the next regularly scheduled meeting a month from now seems a bit onerous for my client.
And I would say that the director of the ESA should be comfortable with verifying the representations that have been made here in bringing. So I don't know how long that will take him to do, but that should be taken into consideration.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion on the floor and we have a second. Any other further discussion from the board?
Can we restate the motion? There's been a lot of discussion since point A and B.
The motion is to defer.
The motion is
A 24-hour coverage.
to defer a decision. Right, to defer the decision to change the status of Company 5 until the next board meeting, pending sign off on the
Yeah, we have to still.
state.
Yeah, I know.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And there are, let's see, is there any other orders?
This is Christopher Smith. Could I ask a question, please?
Well, we'll give you the courtesy, although this is out of order. Go ahead.
Well, we're a little constrained by our situation and our technology, and I apologize for that. We've had a little difficulty here. I understand Mr. Fass is the one in touch with the fire marshal.
The fire marshal is in touch with the ESA and would get in touch with the staff here, in particular Director Kaiser.
Well, is there some way we can, so we don't have to wait till the next meeting to hear what the report is from the fire marshal? So we could call somebody? I tried to call Mr. Cochran today, and my daughter's been trying to call him. He doesn't return a call. So we'd like permission to talk to somebody who's having the communications with the fire.
My recommendation would be, you can make a phone call to the fire marshal.
Right, and
Who's going to give you a direct answer? Right from the fire marshal's mouth.
And the person who is our designated point person for this matter, the liaison with Company 5, is Mr. Fox.
So I don't even know, sir, that honestly that Company 5 has even responded to the letter yet by the fire marshal.
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither, but if you're representing them, you'll have that answer before I do.
Mr. Foss, well, do you mind if I talk to you or call you about this?
But it would seem that this is a discussion that needs to go between, because we're not part of that. That is a Station 5, State of West Virginia communication.
Correct.
Well, we understand that, but the issue then is how does that relate to your ability to provide paramedics to us? If that is a fire marshal issue, which I understand as it is, it doesn't sound to me like those alleged errors have much to do with the ability to provide 24-hour service EMS workers. And we've not been able to communicate with anybody from the board, your attorney, any of y'all.
Well, you have access to our attorney. Nathan
Yeah.
Cochran is the attorney that represents the Jefferson County Emergency Services Agency.
Oh, believe me, I've tried.
He
Okay.
doesn't return.
It is true that Mr. Smith tried to call me today, and I've been in hearings and things. I just couldn't call him back. I texted Nicola during the pendency of this meeting, or she was going to call me, and she declined. So, you know, there's just a lot of, it's not always just really simple, you know?
All right. So,
We usually return each other's calls and emails, at least after a month.
all right, so that's noted. So,
And yeah, and that's not true. Go ahead.
but the matter has already been voted on by the board, and
Mr. Chairman? Chief, I have a question for Bob. Is there a CC on that letter? Because I have not seen a letter from the fire marshal's office. This is all new information. I just want to try and get fire marshal's office. I want to make sure we have what to do for the fire marshal's office. I have not seen that letter. So no, we have not responded to something that we didn't get.
Okay. The letter says to Mr. Earl Kogel, Chief, Blue Ridge Mountain Volunteer Fire Department, 181 Keys Gap Road,
all right.
Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, 25425.
All right. So the letter is addressed to Earl Kogel, the chief of Company 5.
I will check in with him to see if that's been gotten, because like I haven't seen it, so I will check with him and see if that letter has gotten.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that finishes unfinished business. We're on to new business, of which there's none. And then public comment, and nobody has signed up to do public comment. So finally, board member comments. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Do I get a second? All those in favor, please say aye. This meeting is adjourned at 7:40.